Thank you for attending today's webinar, which is brought to you through SafeX community platform, Fish Tech Connect. I can see some familiar names in the list here of attendees, as well as some new ones. So I'm really pleased to share that in just 3 months since Fish Tech Connect started, we've grown to over 400 members from all around the world, bringing together a wealth of expertise and knowledge. So I think what's clear to me is that this community is not only needed, but it's thriving, it's growing, and that we are coming together to share ideas and explore how technology can help seafood and fisheries sustainably manage and protect our marine resources. So we look forward to continuing the growth of the platform. And so please do, as mentioned, share the Fish Tech Connect link and invitations throughout your network. We will be introducing a blog space soon, which will be open to members to submit. We'll start podcast, have more discussion workshop areas, and a few other tweaks and introductions on the platform. However, I can see we've had more people still joining. However, for now, though, I'm hugely excited to announce to introduce today's webinar, which is an introduction to the International Fisheries Observer and Monitoring Conference, IFOMC, which takes place in May this year, and insights into Eyes on the Sky, the use of drones for monitoring discards. Today's webinar is presented by Viðar Olesen, Director of Surveillance at the Department of Fisheries, Fiskistofa, and Dr. Lisa Borges, founder of FishFix. They're also joined by Ken Keane, National Observer Programme Coordinator at NOAA, and Björg Þórðardóttir, Head of Electronic Surveillance and Data Analysis at the Department of Fisheries, Iceland. I'll shortly hand over to Viðar. And for those that have just joined, we are recording and you may access the recording later. Once Viðar and Lisa have finished the presentation, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions through the Q&A function, or you can pop your hand up. So you should be able to view at the bottom all of these raised hands and QA, type in a question, which I'll be able to read out, or we can unmute if you prefer to speak. So if a question does come up later, then the presenters will be able to answer that through the Fish Tech Connect chat as well. Anyhow, so without further ado, I am going to turn off my camera, and I'm going to pass over to Lisa and Viðar for their presentation.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start the presentation. And it would be very good if somebody tell me, Lisa, can you give me a finger if the presentation is on the screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah, okay.
And of course, it worked perfectly. We just tried it out 5 minutes ago, and it's not. I can only see you.
Okay.
Now it's coming. Let's see.
Coming. Okay.
Yes, it's perfect now.
Miracle happened. Thank you. So we are good to go then, I guess. Yeah, I start again. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Inga, for inviting us to speak here today, and for the SAFET community team to providing the IFOMC the opportunity to be part of this platform and joining the webinar, where we will share some exciting news about the upcoming International Fishery Observer and Monitor Conference. As Inga already told you, will take place this May in Iceland. Okay, and the names that are here on the screen, we are all part of the steering committee for this conference. So along with some other international people from all over the world. So this is an international conference. But before before we start talking about the conference, I would like to give you a glimpse into the fishery industry in the host country, Iceland, and explain maybe the reason why we are using the drone, or as Inga said, eyes in the sky, in our surveillance effort. The Director of Fisheries is an administrative and regulatory agency under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and is responsible for implementing laws. Actually, we have a new government and they are changing the name, but they haven't changed that on the website, so I'm not going to be the first one to, at least not to translate into English. But unlike many of our customers or stakeholders sometimes think that we are the ones that make the rules, which is not true. We are only enforcing the rules that already exist. So that's the Director of Fisheries here in Iceland. And here we are. We are a little volcano island in the Northeast Atlantic, just touching the Arctic Circle. And the economy of this small nation of about 370,000 people has been largely built up on the rich fishing ground surrounding the island. I don't know if my cursor see, and you can see this line here on the maps. They represented 200 miles exclusive economic zone, which was established on the map in 1975. And that was marked the last expansion of the EEZ. As with previous expansion, this move led to conflict with some European nations known as the Cod War, and you can read about that on the internet. In this fishing territory, we fish over 1 million tons each year, and we have about 1,200 vessels or boats, mostly, of course, and the number is in the small boat. So we are fishing a lot each year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the fishery management, but because in the light of the importance of the fishing industry for the Icelandic economy, and due to the fact that the fish stock seems to be growing despite the Iceland have full control over the fishing territory since 1975, there have to be done some action, and the government introduced the quota system in 1984. The quota system has many good advantages, but in its very nature, it also have a built-in incentive for discard. And later, in 1996, a discard ban was implemented in the law in the Icelandic Parliament, and when that happened, you can say that is the key element that we are using drone today. So it's very important to understand that there is a discard ban. So if you catch some fish, you have an obligation to land it. Doesn't matter size or species. But over the years, data collected by the inspector and observer of the Director of Fishery has indicated that the law set in 1996 are not fully complied with. So what I'm showing on the screen now is the landing data from a bottom trawler. Actually, this is in Icelandic, but it's quite simple. On the left is the species, and that cod is in the top, and then we have a haddock and saithe. And these are the landing dates and all the numbers that were landed, all the fish species vertically. So the blue one here is when they had an observer on board. So something changed with the observation. There are more species attending in the catch for some reason. Yeah, and what we did to implement more efficiency in the surveillance, that in 2020 we introduced the use of drone to monitor discard in the jurisdiction, and we had to do a lot of work to comply with the rules and regulations, practically those related to aviation, data protection, and privacy. But in the beginning of 2021, Director of Fisheries flew its first surveillance flight from the coast. And what we learned by using the drone is that the extent of discard is more frequent than we expected. However, it's difficult to estimate the quantity based on the data collected with the drone, because most of, we can say most of the discard is low-value species and juvenile fish, as I showed you here in the earlier low-value species and short fish and low-value species. We have been flying now for 4 years, and this is we have data over all our flights, and everything is registered, and we have flown about 14,000 kilometers. That is the distance from Reykjavík to Cape Horn in Chile. So it's quite a distance. But the drone, they have a limitation in use, and we have reserved courtesies from small boats, especially association, that their boat received more drone surveillance than the bigger boats like the trawlers, and which is actually true. But however, we go on more fishing trip with a bigger vessel, and we have also bought a new drone that have a lot of more flight endurance and can stay up in the air for 3 to 4 hours, depending on the weather, of course, and the heat. It's an electronic devices, and they all have effect of the cold. So if it's say they can fly for 4 hours, and then probably only for 3 hours here in the north. So we are going to this drone is now in test mode. We are testing it, and we have hopefully by the spring we will get it out to the bigger vessel. Yeah, this is the last slide I'm going to tell you about. Here we are operating on a Coast Guard vessel. We have been in cooperation with the Coast Guard using the drone to get further out, but it's complicated, and we have seen changes in behavior on the fishing ground, and also we have got clear authorization for using the drone. When we started using them, we might have been in a gray area. We produced it like or introduced it like that. This was an extension of the observer eyes, but of course we were recording. So, but now in the summer 2022, the Director of Fisheries got permit to use remote control aircraft in the inspection duty that are equipped with camera for recording, and that is in the law of Fiskistofa or the Director of Fisheries. And also there have been some other effect also from the bigger vessel. We have also been in cooperation with the electronic project CCTVs on board the bottom trawlers. So this there is a drone effect here in Iceland, that's for sure. But now we are heading to the main part of the webinar. Lisa.
Thank you, Viðar. So thank you for the invitation also. My name is Lisa Borges. As Inga said, I'm a private consultant. I have my own consultancy company. But I've also been involved with IFOMC for 20 years now, through my professional life, really starting from a student to manager, scientist, etc. And just to give you a little bit of the historical background of the conference, it started with a need from NOAA Fisheries in the United States for the coordination of their regional observers programs and monitoring programs. It kind of evolved through time to involve Canada and also to find commonalities and best practice, and evolved and then to be an international conference with participants from around, I think around 60 to 80 countries, between 200 and 300 people now. And as you've seen, Viðar and the Ministry of Fisheries is now organizing the next conference in May this year in Reykjavík. Can I have the next slide, please? So the conference, the IFOMC is the only conference, the international conference in the world that is exclusively dedicated to at-sea monitoring programs of fisheries. Of course, the focus of the conference and the aims is really to reach sustainable marine resource management, but it's to bring the international community together, of course, to discuss the issues, challenge, but also best practices in monitoring programs. It has a very big focus on the observers' program safety, and I will talk a little bit more about that later. But of course, it is an international conference, and the main goal really is to network between, vendors, managers, scientists, observers, of course, itself, and scientists. Next slide, please. The conference is divided between 14 theme sessions. Those theme sessions they are mainly distributed between, human programs, monitoring programs, and electronic technology-based programs. And they can go, for example, from, the safety of the observers, as I said, mental health, to applications of artificial intelligence in monitoring programs. It also goes from very large fisheries to artisanal recreation of fisheries, etc. Next slide, please. Now, the conference also, so the team sessions run, the conference is for 5 days. The team sessions run from the first 2 and the last 2 days of the week. But in the middle, on Wednesday, the conference is dedicated to workshops. The themes of the workshops differ between years, but there's always one permanent about observer safety. And this is where, and I gave an example, there's a couple of pictures there of what we do through these workshops. For example, in the United States, in San Diego conference, we actually had a sort of like a ship maquette that was filling up with water, and teams of 3 observers had to actually try to isolate the boat and stop the water coming in. And then they won a prize, the quickest team and the most effective team. Now, throughout the conference, also all the years of the conference, we have the competition, which is teams, again, of 3 people will have to go into their immersion suits. The fastest team to complete also wins a prize. And this is all to highlight observer safety issues and train observers. It also has, so this year we also have an electronic monitoring workshop. We've been having workshops on electronic monitoring technologies for a while now. There's a lot of interest to it. This year is based on, sharing challenges, but also, again, best practice and how the programs are now being worldwide applied and how can they be more effective. And finally, we have a new workshop this year. It's about law enforcement and how enforcement can actually support observers programs, and namely be a very important component of their safety aspects. Next slide, Viðar. So the conference works in a particular format. So the team sessions usually have from 6 to 7 panelists talking, but the talks are only 7 minutes. They are very much controlled by this little fish that I have here in the picture. It goes, and Viðar, thank you for showing, it starts the 7 minutes and the little green lights go off. And so the panelist, while talking, knows that their time is over. The chair of the session is also, but everyone in the conference attendance also knows, because we can see the lights going off. And why do we have this? So we have 7 talks, 6 to 7 talks of 7 minutes going from together. So there is no time for questions, because then we have at the end of all the talks 1.5 hours of discussion. And this is where I think it's very interesting, where sometimes the discussions go. Anyone can come and ask a question, make a comment, share experience, etc. About the team, but also we sometimes diverge to other teams. People share experience for their own programs, etc. And we believe that this is the format of the conference for more than 20 years, and we believe that really helps to build, I think, to build a common knowledge, but also build relationships between people. Next slide, please. But one of the criticisms that we get as the steering committee through the years is that the conference fees is expensive. right? At the moment, it's 120,000 Icelandic krones, which is equivalent, I checked today, to around $850 US dollars. But our reply to is that it is all inclusive. So you have, you know, it includes the coffees, it includes all the lunches, and it's not, you know, it's a proper lunch if you want, as I call it as Portuguese, so actual meal, not sandwiches in most cases. We have a welcoming ceremony when we start the conference, and that of course includes also, you know, some drinks and some food. We have a poster session, and again, some food and some drinks, and the conference dinner, which is also included in the conference. And we have a couple of pictures there of some of the activities we did. And I have to say, I think the conference, we usually ask the people in the conference if it's worth the money, and people usually reply so much. And they reply yes. And to me, I have been coming for 20 years. It's so much that I even brought my son, my 2-month-old baby, to the conference. You can see a picture there of the old steering committee in the conference in Chile. Next slide, please. So just so you know, the important dates is that we extended the abstract submission date. So you have another 2 weeks to submit an abstract. Then 2 weeks after that, we will tell you if your abstract has been accepted for a talk or for posters. Please note that if you only have spaces for 6 to 7 talks, most of you will have poster sessions, so not talk time. You might not get your talk to be a talk. We will invite you all to do posters. We give a lot of importance to the posters. We have a competition. We have a session specifically for that. But again, you have the possibility of talking about your experience and asking questions through the whole 5 days of the conference. Now, the early bird registration ends at the 22nd of February. So note that the conference fee of 120,000 Icelandic krones will go up after this date. So if you want to enroll, please do so. You can enroll after, but just note that it will be more expensive. And then, of course, on the 19th of May, the conference will start in Reykjavík, Iceland. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we always had in the Observer was, of course, the realization that being an observer is a dangerous profession. We always have a seat left in the memory of those observers who have lost their lives while working as observers. We also have an informal list of all the observers we know have died through their work. We have the name, the country, the program they were working in. We keep on carrying this list and the seat through the conference through the years. But I also would like to highlight that this conference is not also only about networking. I think it has produced over the years a lot of important achievements, or at least helped those achievements. One of them was the concretization. So the Association for Professional Observers did get together. They usually had their meetings of the association while the conference was on, because a lot of the observers through the world actually congregated in the conference. So it was a perfect place to have meetings, to discuss issues, etc. But I really like to highlight that one of the key things that I think, and a lot of us would agree, the conference really contributed to was, for the first time, there was an observer safety requirement agreed by an international IFOMC. So there was the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Committee in 2016 agreed to this safety requirement. It took many, many years of discussions, and it was through many of our conferences. And I want to say that I was really glad to also see that this observer safety requirement led also in the same IFOMC to the just agreed crew labor standards. So again, minimum requirements for crew and observers while you're fishing through in this jurisdiction of this IFOMC. And so who knows on the next and the future of the conference, what can come up. Next slide, please. But you know, all of this doesn't happen without funding. You can say that the conference is expensive, but it's actually not more, because we get a lot of sponsors. Of course, we have the sponsorship from NOAA most of the I think all the time. So NOAA is a big sponsor. We have sponsorship from, electronic technology companies, from, of course, the Ministry of Fisheries, etc. But we're always looking for more sponsors to lower the cost of the conference. So if you are interested, please contact Viðar or me or anyone from the steering committee. We have sponsorships from $1,000 if you can sponsor some of the observers' costs to come and attend the conference, until, of course, $30,000 platinum sponsorship. You can also, if you are a technology company, a vendor, you can also come and buy at the exhibition table and exhibit your products or your programs and network a bit more specific to your needs. Next slide, please. So this is the conference. You have here all the information. Log on and check. Please submit your abstract. Doesn't matter if you don't know what the team session is. We can always allocate it after what your abstract would be more applied to. And next slide, Viðar. And of course, we have a couple of questions for you. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this was the last slide.
Yes, so we are open to questions, including about the volcanoes in Iceland.
Yeah.
And we take over them from Inga. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Viðar and Lisa, for those insights regarding the use of drones and the introduction to IFOMC, which sounds a very inclusive event. I especially love the 7-minute fish clock, and of course addressing some very important issues there. People can register on the website, and we've shared the links also through the community platform. If you want to ask questions, then please do use the Q&A or pop your hand up. As usual, I'll get the ball rolling. I guess going back to the drones, a couple of questions from me that would be interesting to receive those answers is, have you experienced any surveillance incidents so far? Another interest from me is whether there was resistance to the use of drones. Well, I'll follow up the next question after that, but really it's the resistance and understanding if there's been any surveillance incidents.
Yeah, thank you, Inga. I was trying to stop sharing and I can't. Should you just have this picture? It's a nice picture. It's not a fake news. It's the real news. Watching the eruption out of your window and have it in the TV also. This is a tourist eruption in the Reykjavík Peninsula. But ask about the drones. Yeah, of course, there rose a question about the drones when we start using them, and we were very careful. For the first year, for example, we didn't revoke any license to fish, because if you are discarding fish, we revoke your license to fish, or at least give you some warning based on how the incident is. But yeah, we had a lot of, or there was from all the stake for the industry at least. But what we did in the early, when we started using the drones, we made a video of the worst case scenario and blur the faces and name of the boats and so forth, and we show it to everybody in the sector, both the ministry and the industry. So, and even though if you have had some number that there is a discard, you see it on the paper, it changed when you see it actually happening. So then the atmosphere changed a little bit toward us, but still there are websites that are talking about shooting down the drone. I'm not going to use that word they use, but it happened then in December, early December, that one of our drones came under fire from a shotgun, and while monitoring in a narrow fjord in the west, and of course it affected the inspector. He was alone in a surveillance when this happened, but we took it very seriously. We called the Coast Guard, called the police, and this incident was reported to the police. So this is not the Director of Fishery Matters anymore. It's just a file to the police that will work with that, because this was the first time this line was stepped over. Because there's one thing to talk about it on the internet, doing that and doing that, but after you pull the trigger, you are in a different situation. So hopefully, for good, nothing more have happened, but we will see what happened at the police report.
And how does the weather, especially in Iceland as well, how does the weather affect those? And I guess that there's a certain time of day in line with fishing that these, you mentioned a number of hours that these are used as well.
Well, we are so lucky in Iceland. There are always good weather here, sun and bright sky. No, that's we have 3 types of drone, and there are only one that can stand heavy rain, but it's based. The smaller one, the weather affect them more. But we, as you saw, we have flown over 14,000 kilometers. So at least some time of the day we have been able to use the drone, and we have been operating in a dark also. But that make lives more complicated for the pilots. But the bigger one that we use, it's about a 9-kilo drone. That drone is quite efficient in yeah, all kind of weather. There seems to be tolerance in a lot of wind, but when they start raining, then we have to be careful. These equipment are expensive, so you don't want to lose them.
Most definitely. I have a few other questions, but if we do have any questions from our attendees today, then can't see anything that's there yet, but please do pop them in the Q&A or raise your hand. In the meantime, I will go on with my long list of always lots of questions after these. So with regard to abstracts, are there certain topics of interest that you're keen to see more submissions from? And I know that there's a number of EM workshops, one by Mark Michelin, the Director of California Environmental Associates, where he's talking about 25 years since the first electrical monitoring system was deployed on fishing vessels. Now there's thousands around the world. So I know he's doing a workshop there about EM programs and how to address and explore standards, etc. But are there areas that our audience, certain areas that you'd like to see more abstract submissions?
I could reply, and then Viðar can if you want. But I think there's one thing I didn't mention. I think we should is that the workshop on electronic monitoring is likely to have also some talks presented. And so if you also want to submit some of an abstract that you think is more applicable to the workshop, you can also identify that or contact Mark Michelin directly. I think there's something that the first time that we did, there was a team session very special that we did last conference in Tasmania. It was about mental health issues of observers. I know it's difficult to talk about these issues. I think it was a very interesting, it was a very good panel. It was a very interesting discussion. We want to encourage more submissions, particularly on that related, so mental health issues, stress, depression, anything really. And I'm saying this because I think there are programs in the world that are more developed for people to, for observers to report those. And I know that NOAA programs have some of those have, mechanisms in place already for those. And we only had participants from NOAA Fisheries, and this is why I'm saying last year. So I was hoping to see a bit more diversity of programs and areas in the mental health session. But I think we also would like to see, for example, different fisheries, so different parts of the world having a bit more diversity. So from Asian countries, African countries, Recreational and artisanal fisheries would also be interesting to have, just to have a different flavors of how the monitoring can change or challenges, best practice, etc. I think that's it. I don't know if you want to come in, Viðar or Ken. Oh, and I can also add, actually, just to things that we also have a new panel with law enforcement, and we don't usually have also a lot of law enforcement coming in. I think that's also dear to Viðar and the fisheries. So we're hoping to have more, people involved in law enforcement, inspectors, etc., to come to the conference. And we also really would like to have participants from the fishing industry. So other ones we're watching, we need their perspectives. We also have a panel with industry participation. So we're looking forward to see if, they come and present their views on the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Viðar, have you got anything to add, or Ken, on that? But the other thing, so how many people usually attend your events, and how many people are you expecting to attend? And I guess from our community, from the tech side or the EM side, are they able to demo their technology? Is there a place where they can actually demo it and get involved in that way?
So the conference usually has between 200, 250. So we never had 200, but I think the maximum is 290 around attendees. So around 250, 240 attendees from 80 countries. So yes, the vendors can have their places to demonstrate their work, to have, but that is sponsored, meaning that they need to pay for that. Tables, so the space to put their programs or technology, etc., costs $250 US, $2,500 US, and they will have that space for the entire of the week. And there's also, I think, inclusive of one-off subscription for the conference. So again, please contact Viðar if you're interested. I think that was it. Sorry, I don't know if.
Thank you. And so a question here we have, I don't know if our presenters can see, but I'll read this out for everyone. So regarding the mentioned drone effect, what would be the percentage increase in the reported discards prior to the drone era? And there is an additional on that, but additionally, what would be quantities of the discards in total catches in percentages? Goodness me, I can't speak today. In percentages.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I have any percentages, but of course we've been monitoring discard. That's one of our main goals here in the surveillance team, because that is one of the things that are not allowed. So we have been registered about 10 to, I think, 8 to 10 discard case each year. There was one exception in 2019. No, I don't remember the year, but there was a 19 case one year. I remember that. And that was then we had we used a telescope to monitor from the shore. But first year in the drone, we went then from 10 discard case up to 142. So I don't know how many percentage that is, but that's a lot. It lower the next year, and that the year 2021 was the worst case. We, of course, I don't know. There are a lot of reasons why we have flown. First year we flew very much so, and of course we are using some risk-based approach to find out where to fly and so forth. But I think also the change of behavior might lie in this decrease on the discard cases, but we think they are still too high.
And I'm just going to click this off as done. And what's the plans then for this year, 2025, with the use of drones? Is there any changes? As you said, you just bought a new drone as well. So is there any other plans in place that you can share with us for the coming year? And when I think it showed March, is it when is it used most within Iceland and the area, the region?
The region, yeah. We use it all around the coastline. So, and if we can go in cooperation with the Coast Guard, then we have been out of the sea to get closer to the bigger vessel. We will just keep on doing what we have been doing. Plus, we are going to add this drone, and I don't know when we are ready to. It costs a lot, so we are not going to start using it in a bad weather and bad visibility. But our dream is that we can use this drone to monitor the bottom trawler fleet that fish most of the demersal cod fish here in Iceland. And if I look further out in the years, will we still be using drone for monitoring? Yeah, maybe, but I think I think that we will move to some other technology. That's my belief.
Yeah, and I think we were talking before the webinar that the use of drones could be really inexpensive at times when you think of coast guards having to go out to sea, as it were, and how they can collect data, inform cases, etc. So there's multiple benefits with the use of those. I think one of the other questions we did touch on, if anyone's got any more questions, then please do pop them in the Q&A. One of the other questions, which I know you shared the lovely picture, which was of the eruption on the Reykjavík Peninsula. Is that likely to have any, and a beautiful picture, but is that likely to have any potential impact on the conference? And I think also there's another event, a art cleanse and husafel and canyon baths as well, which sounds delightful, which is a walk on the coast, a walk on the lighthouse. But if you want to share a bit more about that with us.
Is the picture on the screen also? Okay. Björg, are you or eruption specialist?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing to worry about at the moment. There's no eruption going on, but there's always a magma intrusion going on in the Reykjavík Peninsula. So we won't know what's going to happen, but it hasn't impacted any traveling or flights or nothing of that kind, the earlier eruptions that we have had the past years. So I think there's nothing to worry about in that case, and we will of course inform our conference guests and post updates on our website if something changes about that. So that should not be anything to worry about to travel in Iceland. And what was the other thing you asked about? Some baths, yeah, like the Blue Lagoon. What did you say?
Yeah, I think there's also an event, isn't there, a trip planned on the 24th of May, am I correct? The Arklands and Huseful Canyon Baths on your site as well.
That's the conference organizer.
Yeah, they are just showing possible events to go to if you want to do so. It's open, but that's not included especially in the price. It's just the things to do in Iceland, trips they're offering if you want to make the most of the trip and explore.
And I can maybe add a little bit about this picture. My brother sent it to me. He lives on the peninsula, and this is the view from his living room window. When he was watching the TV, he was also watching the eruption. So it's quite close to where people are living, but there's no evacuation from this town. There, of course, was one town that had been evacuated for a long time ago because it was too close to it. And maybe because I'm start sharing, I will see this is the menu, and we are perfectly safe inside here. These glass are magnifying. Nothing gets through it. It's a lovely venue.
That's good to know, and I think it's by the sea there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think we've got one more. Have you received any support for the drone program, either from the industry stakeholders or local observers? Who would like to answer that?
Well, I guess I have to answer the drone questions. Can you frame the question again? Have we got any?
Have you received any support for the drone program, either from the industry stakeholders or local observers?
The short answer will be no, but so everybody understand. In Iceland, you can say there is only one observer program, because we call our observer inspector, and we are all government workers and work for the Director of Fisheries. So we are monitoring the whole country, and we call them inspectors because they have authority for monitoring and control, and also the job is to be in port to monitor that the catch is weighed the right way. So we are not just doing the at sea monitoring or observation, what we call it.
And so
yeah, I think I can show for the question I have here the distribution of the drone. If I'm still sharing, I can show you from another presentation how it looks like on a map. If you have a minute, I will be very quick. Yeah, this one here, like if I share this one. So this, you can say this is the heat map of where we have been flying with the drones. It's along the coastline, the red, and we have flown more, and the dot here outside the sea is when we have been in cooperation with the Coast Guard. On the right side, you see an operation of the bottom troll fleet for 1 year. So you can see we are not reaching out to them, and that is what we really want to do. That was for the earlier drone question.
thank you, Viðar. I think we don't have any more questions. What I would say is I encourage anyone that's viewing this, not live, if you're viewing the recording, or if you're here right now and you think of a question a bit later or the next few days or week, then do go to our Fish Tech Connect, and you can direct access to Viðar and the presenters today. I think we've probably covered all of the questions, and I'm mindful we're nearly coming up to the hour. What I'd like to do now then is thank everyone for attending, and thank you to Viðar, Lisa, Ken and Björg for presenting today. The recording will be up on the platform soon, and of course we'll share more about IFOMC's conference in the coming months and post-conference. I just want to say, just a note, keep a lookout for our next webinars at the end of this month. We have Dr. Chris Wilcox presenting monitoring coastal fisheries using underwater sound. Then we have a follow-up workshop presented by Celeste Leroux, CEO of Goldfish. That's exploring enhanced seafood supply chain assurance data and tools. And in early February, a great webinar, AI-assisted fisheries monitoring, presented by AI.fish Jimmy Fries, and lots more to come. If you'd like to present, then don't hesitate to reach out to me. Once again, thank you ever so much, everyone. And as usual, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much.